Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. I am MagMongoSlade. Today we're going to talk about NXT, October the 8th, 2024 from the Intimate Factory in St. Louis, Missouri. Very intimate building, meaning it's small, but it looked nice for NXT. It didn't look too bad. This was not my favorite episode of NXT, but it was okay. There's a couple of cool things on here, but still not my favorite episode of NXT. Especially that main event. Oh boy. Oof, can't wait till we get there. Alright. Triple H and Shawn Michaels did a parody of their old DX State of the Union video. You know, from 1997, where they were cursing and getting bleeped. Except they did the reverse this time, where they used millennial lingo like bussin', sus, vibe, cringe, on God, and all that. One thing I will say, I enjoy that these guys recognize that they're old and they're taking shots at themselves for being old. You know, as much as I do kind of wish they kind of toned down the nostalgia and didn't just constantly redo their own stuff, I do appreciate that they recognize that they're old and they make fun of themselves for being old and they make fun of themselves for being out of touch. I really appreciate that. As far as was this funny, it was okay. I got a chuckle out of hearing them say bussin' because it's just a silly thing that people say, and I don't even get it. I'm 40. So let's get into the main show. Trick Williams, Tricky 2 times, say it 2 times, Tricky 2 times. He was out there to celebrate. He gets interrupted by Wesley, who of course wants to be the NXT champion. He wants to be the Triple Crown winner. Trick Williams says, "Hold on, light skin," which that got a pop out of me. Wesley says that Trick ain't it, and he's going to leave him in the dust, just like his old tag team partner did. And then Jey Uso appears. Just a wild Jey Uso popped up on the scene. Crowd gets amped there. You whoop that Trick, yeet. Whoop that Trick, yeet. Whoop that Trick, yeet. What did Jey want? Nothing. What did Jey do? Nothing. He just came out there, yeet. Just, that's all he did. He came out there for no reason. I thought a tag team match or something was about to brew. They were going to build up something else for him to do. Nope. He just popped up. Yeet. Just, it was so random. It was so weird. Because he literally popped up for no reason. He wanted nothing. He did nothing. He was still in the ring when the women came out to do their 6-woman tag. And then he left. And then you didn't see him do anything for the rest of the show. He just vanished. He didn't do backstage segments. Didn't, threaten to show up in NXT next week. Didn't threaten to beat nobody up. Nothing. He just showed up, yeeted a bunch, and then he left. Got the crowd all excited for no goddamn reason. They got excited for nothing. It was like a joke that they pulled on everybody. Oh my goodness. What were they thinking? I don't know. Maybe there was a plan and then they just pulled the plug on it. Anyway, Kalani Jordan, Bianca Belair, and Jade Cargill defeated Fallon Henley, JC Jane, and Jasmine Nix. The match was solid. It went on longer than it probably should have for my taste, especially considering Bianca and Jade are main roster talents and considering the level of talent in this match. It probably went on a little longer than it should have, but they let Kalani get the pin with the split leg moonsault. Jasmine Nix ended up being the one to take the fall. I realized, and some people brought this to my attention when I was looking at NXT, the results of people talking about NXT from last week, that JC Jane has been in NXT for 3 or 4 years. She's been in NXT a while. They've been calling her a super senior, which I think is hilarious. She is like a 14th grader at this point, right? Yeah, she's like that 20-year-old that's still hanging around in high school. I know she's not that old, but she's on like her third wind in NXT. I mean, she was kind of a jabroni at first, and then she got a really big push as a member of Toxic Attraction. Then she got a singles push, which faded out, and now she's getting another one. So basically, she's on like her third or fourth win. And I don't really see much for JC on the main roster. I mean, when you look at how the rest of the NXT talent are being used, I really don't see a lot of space for JC. Now she's good at being a heel. She's a great heel. I just don't think that there's an appreciation for her skill level on the main roster. So keeping her in NXT is kind of for the best. Fallon Henley is doing really well as a heel. The girls, she's hot too. She's a very pretty young lady. And Jasmine Nix is as well. She's actually improved quite a bit. Jasmine Nix mixing it up with Bianca Belair near the end was actually very impressive. And I want to give Jasmine Nix some credit because she's much better, much better than she was not too long ago. All right. Later on, we got Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade talking. Boy, is Roxanne Perez bad at talking. She is very bad at talking. And they insist on her talking. Cora Jade is slightly better. So Cora Jade says that she's been listening to everybody talk about how deep the women's division is and all the great names floating around and all the new prospects floating around NXT, and everybody forgot about her. So she wanted to make people pay for forgetting about Cora Jade and said that Roxanne Perez is finally becoming what Cora Jade thought Roxanne Perez could be. Roxanne Perez thinks that the title could bring them together, even though it was the thing that took them apart. But earlier she had also said that she's going to continue to drink the tears of NXT's flavors of the month. She's very bad at talk. She's one of the worst promos in the business, just bar none. Top 10 really bad promos. You know, it's almost always Cora Jade. Julia shows up, and she's marching to the ring, and then here comes Stephanie Vaquer, who is going to be her partner, and they both get in there. Julia ties herself up in the ropes somehow. I don't know. I think her head got stuck in the ropes. I don't know. It was weird. It was very weird. It was just very strange. They get in the ring. They both beat up Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. They throw headbutts and stuff. Then they both pick up the women's championship and hold it as Roxanne Perez backs away, looking defeated. It was a terrible segment because Roxanne was talking. Cora Jade has confidence, but she doesn't really have much to say. And her boobs is getting like 4 times larger than they were before. I know it's probably her gear, pushing them up. But Jesus Christ. She's like all boobs all the time now. It's really weird. But Cora Jade is she's got talent. She's a really good mean girl. Roxanne Perez, I don't know. I guess Cora could help. She has charisma and personality, while Roxanne is the worker of the two. And the way I'm looking at things, Cora Jade should probably end up being a bigger star than Roxanne, but I don't think so. Because Triple H cares about work, and Roxanne is a premium worker. She's actually pretty good. While Cora Jade is kind of mid in the ring, but at least she got a look, and she's got charisma. She carries herself well. She just needs something to say. I wish she just had a character, but she doesn't really have one. Not really. So Stephanie Vaquer appears, and Ren Sinclair wants to have a match with her next week, and Charlie Dempsey is A-okay with that. He likes that she's stepping up to the plate and taking on challenges. He likes that. And then I see he has this ridiculous mustache. It's absolutely ludicrous. Anytime somebody's walking around with a mustache, I question their sanity. Why does he have a mustache? Almost every man that walks around with a mustache is like a porn star. I don't know. Anyway, he runs into Lexis King, who is trying to figure out a match where Oro Mensah cannot cheat. So Dempsey suggests a Lord Mount Evans rules match which is a European a European round system match. And Lexis King is like, hell no, I don't want to do no rounds. So then Dempsey starts talking about a gentleman's agreement or a gentleman's rules match. And Lexis King is like, yeah, I like that idea. I'm okay with that. Even though it sounds like it was the same thing. But we'll see what's going on here. Lexis King is trying to turn babyface. He's doing his best. He's trying. He's trying very hard. I forgot to mention that Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, they were walking around with Kalani Jordan backstage. And Kalani's like, yeah, I got Fatal Influence from here. Thanks, guys. And then Bianca and Jade got accosted by Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, who, despite not winning any matches, won a tag team title shot just out of the ether, apparently. And Bianca says, well, you guys going to have to come to our field, and they're going to have to go to SmackDown to get it. So this Friday, Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend will be making their WWE debut. At least I don't think they've wrestled on the main roster before. In a tag team championship match when they've won 0 matches. Zilch. Okay. It don't matter. Our dear sister Lash Legend, I am going to support the decision to push Lash Legend on SmackDown. And Jakara Jackson, even though Jakara is very, very green and probably not fit for SmackDown yet. But do as you will. They're trying to get more women on the TV and get more women mixed in to the program. And something tells me that Jade and Bianca are probably about to lose the belt soon. Probably the Damage Control, because that seems to be where we're going with this. But for now, you want to have Jakara and Lash Legend, I'm not against it. I just wish that they would have done something to build them up first. Okay. Randy Orton's in the locker room asking how fast Javon Evans is. Axiom said he's the fastest guy in NXT, which gets Nathan Fraser upset, says he's the fastest. Then he said he apologized for getting upset, for being hot-headed. Randy Orton said that it's good to go into your darker places sometimes. So now Nathan Fraser thinks that it's okay for him to have a temper. Because Randy Orton said it, so it must be true. Boy, Randy Orton's, he's been a bad influence already. Randy is expanding, though. Like, he's massive, dog. I mean, he's not even muscular anymore. He's just big. Just a big, big dude. Anyway, Axiom and Nathan Fraser defeat Austin Theory and Grayson Waller with the Spanish Fly and the Phoenix Splash combination. Very solid match. I liked it. I legitimately liked this match. I thought it was pretty good. They did that silly miscommunication from both teams gimmick where, I believe there was a spot where one kicks the other and one runs into the other and they're missing tags and stuff like this. So there was basically, because both of these teams are falling apart anyway, you had to basically do a mirror gimmick where both teams are discombobulated in the match, which I'm not really a huge fan of. I think that if you are fighting for a title, you should be locked in. But Grayson Waller takes the pin. I enjoyed the match. This was one of the few things on the show I couldn't complain about. I thought they were really good. I'm not really a big fan of Axiom and Nathan Fraser, but where else? You can't put the belts on Theory and Waller. I mean, you could, but you're not gonna, because they're about to break up soon. So that's not going to work. Anyway, Tony D'Angelo defeats Obafemi to win the North American Championship. Earlier in the day, there was a video put out interviewing Obafemi about becoming the longest running North American champion, saying that it was his destiny to destroy the rest of Tony D'Angelo's confidence, and that Tony D'Angelo is only a speed bump on his drive to immortality. And his job was to establish dominance. And he goes out there and they worked this match, and it told a very interesting story of Tony D'Angelo basically fighting through his fear. Even very early, where Obafemi makes Tony D'Angelo flinch and then mushes him in the face. But Tony D'Angelo is, of course, fighting from underneath. He's a big dude himself. He's not as big as Oba, but he's a pretty solid guy. Stacks throws Tony D'Angelo the crowbar. Say, hey, use this crowbar. And he's like, nah. And he gives it back to him. And I was like, that was interesting. Because at this point, I thought Tony D'Angelo was going to lose. And I think a lot of people did too, because the placement of the match was in the middle of the show. So I think a lot of people figured this is probably not going to be a title switch. Then Obafemi, of course, he's decimating Tony D'Angelo at this point. And it looks like Tony D'Angelo got nothing left. At one point, he hits the spine buster, which is one of his finishers, and that doesn't finish Obafemi, and he's kind of lost his confidence. Obafemi goes outside the ring. He stares down all the members of the family, and he shoves, I believe it was Stax, or it might have been Luca. He shoved one of those guys down, and all three of them went down like bowling pins. So Tony D'Angelo sees that Rizzo got pushed down, and he kind of hawks up a little bit, goes out there, and, hits a couple of, throws him against the barricade, throws him against the stairs, losing control. And he actually spinebusters Obafemi on the table, throws him in the ring, hits a spinebuster again, only gets 2. And you're like, oh my God. Yeah, Tony D'Angelo's finished. He can't even get the dub after the power up. He's finished. This guy's cooked. So Obafemi goes for a choke slam, and Tony D'Angelo counters it into a roll up and gets a clean 3 count. And of course the place explodes because Oba loses. And it was a big deal. Look, I always said Oba shouldn't be losing. I maintain that. But I also said if anybody should beat Oba, it should be Tony D'Angelo. And Tony D'Angelo wins. I thought this match was great. I think it told a great story. It was a big moment. I wish it was the main event, if we're being honest, because I really would have been happy if this was the main event instead of it being at like the 8:30 part of the show. So, very good. Those 2 things I think was very good. The tag team championship match and the North American title match, both of those were very good. Also, Mike Rome, he has bleached his hair. He looks ridiculous. He also is wearing like a vest, like he's Dracula or something. That Mike Rome, boy. Hey, at least he's keeping his job, so I can't complain. Ridge Holland talked about the running through Chase University, and that was the cost of their mediocrity, and he got attacked by Riley Osborne, whatever. Sexy Red tried to perform. Oh my God, this was awful. I think I may have actually turned it to Dynamite when Sexy Red shows up, because I didn't want to catch an STD. I've been doing a really good job of not having herpes, or HPV or anything like that. I did not want that, so I changed the channel. But then I saw that Ethan Page showed up, and I was not enticed to turn back. And by Ethan Page showing up, I wasn't in a rush to turn back. But ultimately, I did, because he had a microphone, and I'm like, okay, where are we going with this? So Ethan Page interrupts, canceled her concert, said the place is falling apart without him. He's only not been champion 1 week. He starts talking about all these various complaints that he has, and he's not leaving until he gets a rematch. So Javon Evans comes out there and beat him up, and then he danced with Sexy Red. I'm like, okay, that's a good look for Javon Evans. So Javon Evans is already out there, and here comes the ever-expanding Randy Orton. And Randy Orton saunters to the ring. He just soaks up all the adulation. And then Randy starts sleepwalking through this match, which pissed me off because there was never any doubt that Randy Orton was winning this match. Not any doubt. The point of this match was to showcase Javon Evans. The point of this match was to get the spectacular RKO that everybody knew was coming. And not only did they botch that spectacular RKO, but it looked like we got nothing out of either Randy or Javon Evans. Now, this was basically a showcase for Javon, but he had to spend most of the time selling because Randy is so much bigger and he had to fight from underneath, which is fine. And Randy took a couple of bumps for him. even on kicks and things like that, which, he probably would have been better off not bumping for him so much. Outside the ring, Javon Evans actually counters the table spot where, Randy throws a guy up and lands on the table. He threw Javon Evans up. He landed on his feet. Then Randy leaps for Javon's feet. He jumps over him, gets in the ring. Javon then hits the ropes, comes back with the dive, except he botched it. So then Randy has to pick him up, dropped him on the table, then dropped him on the table 4 times. Okay. So Javon is getting beat up. He does a double jump cutter, only gets 2. He then does a double jump tornado flippity doodah, and Randy is in RKO position, and the guy falls bloop right in front of Randy. And Randy just looked like, oh shit. He just picks him up, gives him an RKO, and pins him. What a disaster. What a disaster. This match, this was probably one of the worst Randy Orton matches I've ever seen, bro. I hate this match. I hate this match. As somebody who is a Randy Orton defender, I hate this match. It was very slow. You didn't get to see what the kid can do. Randy was dominant, which is what you could expect. But it didn't feel like Scott Hall versus the 1-2-3 kid, which is what you want this thing to feel like. You want this thing to feel like, okay, the kid has no chance of winning, but there's going to be some really big hope spots in there. No, there was none of that. And the big spectacular payoff at the end was blown too. And they didn't even bother to try to do it again, which is very smart on Randy's behalf. You already botched this super fantastic RKO that was supposed to be. And you ended the match with a wet fart because you botched the finish. And what a spectacular finish it was planned to be. And you botched it. And I was like, God damn. God damn. Damn it. You ruined it. And if Randy had hit the spot, I'm not sure it would have been worth it. But it still would have not been a great match. But this is one of my least favorite Randy Orton matches. And maybe Javon was nervous because it was both of them. Randy was working very slow, which is what Randy does. Javon was botching some of his high flying stuff, and Randy was kind of either late catching him or couldn't catch him or whatever the case may be. So this was not good. This was one of the not good things about this show. But one of the best things about this show, and one of the things that I actually wish I could spend more time on, is Delta's vignette. So she did a vignette where they doing this Mad Max style. She's the road warrior. She's walking down it's like the Book of Eli, which is a fantastic movie, by the way. Maybe I should talk about that on a pop culture live stream, how fantastic the Book of Eli is. And that's basically what this was. She was walking down this dirt road, and here comes these warrior chicks, and she's literally smashing them into the concrete. Like she's breaking the streets in half, tearing them apart. It reminded me so much of when Ricky Steamboat was coming into WWF and he was the dragon and he was fighting all these ninjas and shit. This is what it reminded me of. This made her seem like a beast. I know she's not coming until Halloween Havoc, but having only seen like 1 or 2 matches from her, I'm very entertained. I'm very interested in where this is going to go. So one more piece of business we got to discuss. So Lola Vice wants to fight Jada Parker, but Jada Parker ain't there. But who is there is Nikita Lyons, who saunters in with a whole new attitude. She tells Lola Vice to go touch grass and basically shoos her away. And Lola Vice, of course, doesn't like that. So the two of them starts to get into it. And it's, Ava gets Lola out of there. But they set up the match for next week. Lola Vice versus Nikita Lyons. And oh my God. Bro, this is the Bronson Reed versus Braun Strowman of NXT when it comes to human posteriors. that ring is going to collapse under all the ass between these two women, and NXT is going to be unreal. The Gooners are going to goo goo. I'm telling you, there's not going to be a dry sock in the building. It's going to be bad. Okay, people about to be down bad, cuz. Okay, Nikita Lyons just came back, and they're already throwing her in the mix. I'm okay with that because she's been around for a while. She's been around for 2 years or something like that, but she spent so much time on the shelf, they haven't really gotten much of anything out of her. So it seems like they're going to end up turning her heel, which is necessary because she's been a babyface and it hasn't been working. I think she needs a manager or something, somebody with her. Again, I saw Nikita Lyons in WoW, and when she was a heel, she worked. As a babyface, But as a heel, the character works. And she basically is a diva. You know, she thinks she's a pop star. You know, she's a rapper, singer, actress, all this kind of stuff. Now she's got a podcast and all that. She thinks she's just shit. And it works, but it only works if she's a heel. So if that's the direction they're going to go with her being a heel, great. If they're going to turn Lola heel, that could also be great. But these both are women with martial arts backgrounds. I think Nikita Lyons did like Taekwondo. I believe Lola Vice also did some Taekwondo or some kickboxing or something like that. Plus she was in Bellator. You know, so they both have big asses, but they both also have martial arts background. So I'm very interested in this. But there's going to be a lot of napkins on the floor afterwards. I can almost guarantee you that. I can almost guarantee you that shit. So that's NXT for October the 8th. Again, not my favorite episode of NXT, but a couple of things on this show were very good. And there was some things on here to be impressed about. The only problem I have is next week they set up a championship match. Wesley versus Ethan Page versus Javon Evans. They put Javon Evans in the match because they were so impressed with his performance against Randy Orton. I don't think so. Maybe I'll have to watch the Randy Orton Javon Evans match again, but I hated that match. You know, that's off the first watch. I always do my reviews off the first watch. Maybe I'll watch it again and it's better, but as of right now, I can't stand it. But they needed a babyface in that match anyway, because both Wesley and Ethan Page are heels, so I guess he's the best option. I would just have Obafemi beat all three of them up and stack them and shove them into and put them in somewhere safe for safekeeping. Because Wesley, look, he needs to move on. I know that, you know, I'm not thrilled about Wesley being a main event guy, but he's got to move on. He can't be a North American Championship guy forever. So, and Trick Williams versus Wesley could be fun. Ethan Page, I'm not interested. Not interested at all. Javon Evans versus Trick Williams, one of them needs to be a ring general. Somebody's got to direct the action. And as we've seen what comes to Javon Evans, he probably needs to slow down his push a little bit because they've been really pushing him hard lately. He's been losing a lot, but they've been pushing him hard. They probably need to slow down with him and start over from scratch. Like, basically reintroduce him and teach him to slow down and give him some wins and, you know, work his way back up. Because, you know, he's had some really good, phenomenal performances, but he's 20 or something like that. Like, you just can't be super pushing this kid, and he's not, like, preternaturally talented in every single way. Like, he's a great physical specimen in terms of his athleticism, but he can't talk for shit, and he's got no discernible personality. So I would even pick Wesley over him, because at least Wesley is a solid enough heel with a solid personality, or at least a history you can work with. But Ethan Page, nah, he's just another guy. He's a jag-off. Just another guy. All right. What did you guys think of NXT this Tuesday? The Tuesday Night War. Of the two shows, I will let you know which one I think won at the end of the Dynamite review. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later.
doesn't matter.